thank you everyone for coming. We do these sessions once a month to invite all of our new users in, to give them a bit of a tour around the software, and help everyone get up and running as quickly as possible. And I've got Chris Banks with me, who's the founder of ProWritingAid. Everything that you have started using is here because of a little spark of an idea that he had back in 2014 now? Is that where we're at? Yeah. So we always drag him out to come and give us a bit of a tour around the software and show us all of his new favorite things. And he's actually got lots of new things to show us this week to help you get the most out of ProWritingAid. So thanks for being here, Chris.
My pleasure. It's always fun to do these, introduce it to new people.
Exactly. So let me show everyone what we're going to try and cover today. This is our general plan for what we're going to try and cover over the next hour, but we'd like to be led by the people who are with us just to make sure we're answering questions about the right things. So if there's something in particular that you want us to talk about or want us to cover, there's a couple buttons at the bottom of your screen. There's a chat function, which sometimes moves really quickly. You're welcome to comment there and talk about what you like and what you don't like. But if you have a specific question or something that you want us to specifically look at, put it into the Q&A box, and we'll keep an eye on that as we're going through. And I can always stop Chris and ask for clarification as need be. But generally, we'll start with just how to upload your document, how to get started. We'll look at real-time grammar, spelling, and style checking. We'll run a summary report and talk you through some of the key elements in there. We'll look at some of the individual reports. So have a think about which reports you're most interested in learning about, because we've only got an hour and there's like 20 reports. So it just give us a bit of direction on that. And then there's a few other features that we'll talk you through, and we'll show you how some of our integrations with Scrivener and the Chrome extension and Google Docs, how all of that works so that you can use ProWritingAid wherever you write, and so it's easiest for you. And then we'll show you some of the other resources that we have. We use ProWritingAid to help you with the copy editing, but then we've got tons of other resources to help you with everything from coming up with the right idea to marketing your book once it's published. So Chris, I'm going to stop sharing, and then shall we pass over to you? Do you want to open up the web editor and give us a bit of a tour
through? My screen. Excellent. Here we go. You see it?
Yep, that's great.
Perfect. So as Lisa said, this is the web editor. She also mentioned that we have various extensions and plugins for different word processors. So we plug into Microsoft Word on Office, on Windows, on Mac. We have a desktop application that integrates with Scrivener and Final Draft and various other file formats. We have extensions for all of the major browsers. ProWritingAid can help you wherever you're writing. If you're writing emails in Gmail, or you're writing tweets, or Facebook, or Medium, or wherever you're writing, if you install our browser plugin, you'll get a little icon on your toolbar like this in the top right hand corner, and that will then allow you to use it wherever you want.
It follows you all over the internet. It's great.
Yeah, it's like a little friend sitting on your shoulder, correcting you, helping you.
Correcting your tweets before you tweet them, because the rest of the world will correct them for you if you don't do it before you tweet it.
Yeah, making up strange words or misspelling things. So we're going to start though with the web editor, because most of our interfaces are similar. We try and keep the interface wherever you're using ProWritingAid, be it in Word or in the web editor or Google Docs, very similar. We'll use the web editor because it's a kind of neutral area, but everything else is very similar. As Lisa said, we'll have a quick look at the other ways you can use it at the end. So this is the web editor. The first thing that most people want to do, obviously, is to upload a document. A lot of people have got something that they've written already, and then they want to improve it with ProWritingAid. Of course, you can just start writing in ProWritingAid as well, and you can save your documents to our website if you want, and then access them from anywhere. A lot of people think, oh, the easiest thing is just for me to copy and paste the document in. I would generally advise against that, just because you have a tendency, if you're copying from Word or something, what can happen is that in the transfer into the website and then back again, you can change the formatting inadvertently, and that's just because websites don't support all of the same formatting that, for instance, Microsoft Word might have, and the fonts that you have on your computer might be different from the ones available on the web. So we always advise people to use this upload a document button, which you can also access from this menu here via the upload. And then when you've finished it again, you just press export and you'll get your original document back with all of the edits made. And what we do is we don't show you the formatting in the web editor, but what we do is we apply the changes to your document so that when you export it at the end, it will get the same document back, just with all of the changes made that you've made in the editor.
So if you upload it and it looks slightly different, don't panic. All of your formatting is still there. There's just some things that we can't show in the editor. So when you export it again and open it in the original program, it'll still be there. So don't panic. Lots of times people get in touch with us and say, where are my italics? But don't panic.
Yeah, and of course the easiest thing is just to use our plugins for Word or whatever you're writing in, and then you don't have to use a different editor. You don't have to upload it. It's just built straight into wherever you're editing. So if you upload a document by clicking here, then I've got one sample document here. I always think that somebody's going to play the prank on me and change the text of the sample document while I wasn't looking.
No, but your misspelling of before is still there, because one time we did this and Chris accidentally added that misspelling of before to his dictionary, and then he's never fixed it again. And so
every week I forget to fix it.
Yeah. So in the third line in the middle, it says before misspelled. We know it was an accidental add to the dictionary.
Yeah. So when you come in, you'll immediately see highlights under a lot of words. So this is your grammar, style, and spelling checking. That's what we call the real-time checking. So as you type, it finds all of the mistakes in your text and highlights them. Some people like to just turn it off. If you click on here, you can turn it off. And then you have just the text without anything else to see. If you turn it back on again, then you get the highlights back, and then you also get this goals over here. So you can also go through all of your highlights in this grammar and style section here. Some people like to use this because it's kind of like a linear. I can easily go through without having to look through the text. But more importantly, I think, is this goals section. And you can see at the top of the goals section, we've got set to historical fiction. So what we do is whatever type of writing you're doing, you can set the document type. So if I click on here, you can see that they've got a broad range of document types. In business, technical, creative writing, we've got every kind of genre of horror, romance, science fiction, thriller, etc. And what we do is we take great examples from each of those areas. So for instance, we take really great YA authors for the young adult section, or great fantasy authors, and then we use their text to benchmark our algorithms. So that means that we can then show you how your writing is different from the writing of great authors in your particular genre. And the way that we do that is using these goals. So the idea here is that we can give you actionable steps that you can then take to take your writing from good to great, so that you can emulate those amazing writers. And by doing so, what you'll do is you'll learn about the differences between what you're writing and what great writers are writing. And you'll learn effectively the secrets of being a great writer. So you can see in here, obviously we cover grammar, style and spelling. We have things about sentence length, readability grades. Obviously, depending on what you're writing, the readability target is going to be different. Sentence variety is something that is really important. Often when you find yourself reading something and it sounds a bit mundane or like monotonous, it's because there's not enough variety in the sentences. You're not having short, punchy sentences and then long and flowing sentences that draw your reader in. So an interesting point here is that on each of these we give a little help, and I think the help within ProWritingAid is one thing that really sets it apart from any other products. We put a lot of effort into explaining to you exactly why you need to do what you need to do to improve it. So that's both in the grammar and style suggestions, but also within the goals. So for instance, if you take the sentence variety goal, you can see, this is just messed up. You can see that we have an article here which describes it to you, and then you can go to a full article on our website which goes into more depth about what that particular goal is and why it's important. And you can find, for instance, in some, for instance, very here, if I click on this, you'll see there's actually a video embedded in it as well that you can watch, and it goes into a lot of detail about why you shouldn't use very within your article.
Yeah, and the idea is that we want to help you learn the reasoning and the technique behind any suggestions that we make. It's not like a spell check where here's the right answer, you click it and you're done. Here we want to actually help people build their skills and develop their craft and learn, some of the technical ways that writing can be improved, and the reasoning behind it, how it engages with your reader in a better way. Or the sentence variety is a good example in that it's more like music. You need your sentences to ebb and flow. The lengths that are different is just more engaging to your reader. So as much as possible, we have that sort of explanation and videos to help you build your skills as you go along.
Yeah, so I think that, again, is what really sets us apart, is that using our tool is more of an investment in yourself and in your writing. And the feedback that we get is, as people are using ProWritingAid, they're really learning about the writing process. And that's what I wanted to do with the tool, was to take all of the information that you can read in books about how to be a good writer, but then obviously instantly forget in the moment that you shut that book, and then apply it actually to your writing. So you take that abstract information and turn it into concrete advice that's actually applied to your writing. So it's similar to, if you had a writing coach, they would go through your writing with you and point out various things that you were doing wrong, or areas for improvement, or areas where you need to work on them. And we're trying to do exactly that same thing, but for people who can't afford a writing coach to go through all of their writing with them. So that's how we really see ourselves, as we form this kind of positive feedback loop with you. We're never going to take away your voice. We're never going to tell you what to do. And in fact, you can ignore the advice if you want. But we really help you and question you and show you the biggest changes that you can make to your writing to get the most improvement.
And I always tell people, don't be afraid of ignoring, because you're the author, you're the writer, and you know what you want to say. At the end of the day, this is a computer program that can pull a lot of information, but sometimes nuance is important and it won't get it quite right. So if you ignore a suggestion, that's fine. That just means that it's not quite right for what you're trying to say in this specific context. So don't worry about ignores.
Yeah, and I think that's, computers are great at spotting patterns across huge amounts of text in a very short amount of time. And a lot of what the tool is doing is that, right? It's stuff that, you could do yourself, but it would take you a huge amount of time to do. So for instance, I think passive voice is a good example. You could go through your text and highlight every single instance of the passive voice and then rewrite it. But that would take you a huge amount of time to do, whereas we can just highlight them all in a couple of seconds and offer you suggestions of how you rewrite it, so that you don't even have to think about how to rewrite it. So if you're editing any kind of document, you'll find that it just saves you a huge amount of time, and it doesn't make mistakes as well. I think that's, or what am I trying to say? It doesn't get bored easily. So because it's just an algorithm. So it's there to do all of the boring stuff so that you can do all of the interesting things. I think that's why a lot of copy editors actually suggest to their clients that they use ProWritingAid before they send them the product, because if you use ProWritingAid before you send it to a copy editor, the quality of your writing will be so much higher that the copy editor doesn't have to go through and do all of the boring changes. They can actually focus on the more interesting changes, the more difficult changes that are really going to take your writing up to that next level. I was thinking, imagine if you sent your document to your copy editor without even spell checking it, right? They only have a certain amount of time to spend on your document. So they just spend it all correcting your spelling mistakes, and they wouldn't actually make any style improvements or improve the writing. This is just taking it that next level, so that you can get all of the quick wins, so that then your copy editor can really take your writing to that excellent level.
Yeah, there's so many copy editors are using it now. There's one of the biggest professional editing companies is called First Editing, and they now require all of their copy editors to be trained in ProWritingAid and to use it, and they really feel like it's something that just gives them peace of mind that they're not going to miss anything, once they're at chapter 11 of your book. And maybe they don't have that same level of focus. Having ProWritingAid to help you go through and catch all of those things, they just see it's really valuable. So they recommend that their clients use it before it gets to them, and then all of their editors are trained in ProWritingAid as well. So if the pros are using it.
Yeah, and that's actually what we've done is we've employed copy editors to find patterns of things that they normally change in writing, and then we've turned those into algorithms, and then we apply that to your text already. So I think copy editing firms really like it as well, because it improves the consistency of the product that they can then deliver to their clients, so that every time they're highlighting the same things and making the same fixes.
Yeah, because they're more interested in the meat as well. They're more interested in, your plot holes and your character inconsistencies, or if you're writing nonfiction, in the power of your argument and have you structured it well. And that's what copy editors are in it for. I'm sure a copy editor wouldn't mind if they never ever fixed a grammar mistake or a spelling mistake again. So I just feel like it gets them focused on the things that they're really good at and that they really enjoy doing.
Yeah, and putting the things that your readers will really enjoy. It's those perfect choices of words, the strengthening of verbs, and the improvement of metaphors. Those are the things that really make your writing stand out in the end. And by using a tool like ProWritingAid, you give your copy editors the chance to focus on that rather than the easier stuff. So you get more value out of them. You're making their jobs harder, but more interesting for them.
Yeah, exactly. So do you want to just do a quick bit of functionality here with the pop-up, just so that everyone can see how it works, and then we'll run a summary report and help people figure out how to build a roadmap for their edit?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So whenever you hover over anything, so blue is grammar mistake. So this is a comma splice where I've put two sentences that are actually separate sentences together using a comma, and it should be actually a period. And if I don't understand what a comma splice is, again, I can click on this nice thing and read about it and read the full article. And I could just click to correct it. Sometimes you might disagree with it and you say, okay, actually, I want to ignore this. Or in some extreme cases, you might say, actually, I just don't like this rule at all. It doesn't apply to my writing. Then you can disable the rule by clicking on here. So that's the basics of the pop-up. As I said, you can actually use it in the sidebar as well. So I can click on here and it will apply it.
Does everyone have the goals in the sidebar now? This is a really new feature. I've just got someone who's saying that he doesn't see it there.
Yes, it's. I think we're hoping to roll it out to everybody very shortly.
Within the next week or two, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you don't see this yet, it will be coming soon. This is a sneak preview, but there's a limited number of users that have it already.
Yeah, we like,
and
whenever we release a new feature, we like to roll it out to a limited set of people to make sure that everybody likes it and to gather kind of feedback before we then roll it out to everybody else.
Okay. And then the other question there is, how do you turn the real time off and on?
You just click on this button here in the top left-hand corner.
Yeah, because some people, especially if you're writing from scratch here and you just want to get in creative mode and just keep your momentum up, it's sometimes real time can be distracting. So I will turn it off, and then when I'm ready to go back and have a look at it, I'll turn it on. But if I'm writing other things, I'll just have it flag it as I go along, which is sometimes useful.
Yeah, if you're just writing an email or something, I just have it on all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the thing, and that's the real thing about editing, is that writing and editing are two really different concepts. You know, writing is all about flow and not stopping and getting into a groove, right? And editing is all more about kind of the crafting and tweaking and changing side of things. So if you're writing anything that's of any importance, I would say you need to do those two separate phases separately, and ideally, you know, with at least a night of sleep between the two of them, so that you can get a bit of perspective on your writing and see it with fresh eyes.
So you don't just read over your typos. I'm sure you've all just read over a typo, or written the one after the other, and somehow your brain helpfully just says, "We know you don't mean that. We'll just show you the one the," and then you find it the next day or after you hit tweet.
Yeah, well, that's an yeah. I was just going to say, I think that's an interesting thing. You know, a lot of people are kind of like, well, why would I ever need a grammar checker? I know grammar, and actually, you know, I think everybody needs a grammar checker, because it's not just grammar; it's also finding lots of things like, you know, I think for a lot of people, when you rework a sentence, it's easy to leave in a wrong word, or you know, it's easy to mistype a word that's actually not a spelling mistake, like form or from. And a traditional spell check's not going to find that, because they're both valid words, whereas ProWritingAid will find those kinds of mistakes. And I find myself making them all the time. I'm constantly surprised by how many mistakes I make when I'm typing emails, and how much value I just get from the tool.
Yeah, well, our professional, we have a team of professional writers that write for the blog and that have been working on ebooks for us, and they send us their original copy, and there's always typos, there's always issues in it, and they literally write all day, every day for a living. So there's just things that your brain helpfully hides from you, and so we can help you out with that.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, this tool is used by everybody from students to professional writers to improve their text. So yeah, as Lisa said, I think move on to the summary report. That's a really good place to start. As the name suggests, it gives you a summary of your text. So if I click on this and run it, and this, you know, is a kind of like a helpful resource to just get an overview of your text. So you can see the same goals here as you see in the sidebar, and it shows you, you know, obviously where your document looks great. So you're doing a lot.
Great there. Look at all that green.
Yeah, well then look at this orange here.
Oh, well, that's where you need to focus. And
exactly,
that's going to be different for everyone, because every writer has their bad habits and everyone has their bits that they find easy, and it's different for everyone. So part of why we wanted to break this down into really specific goals is so that people know where they need to go and what's going to have the biggest impact on their writing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Lisa makes a good point there, because whenever you're writing anything, you've only got a limited amount of time to improve it. So what we really try and do is focus you on the areas of your writing that will get the most improvement from the smallest amount of work. So we really point you at not just the paragraphs that, we don't give you a readability score just of the whole document. We can give you a readability score of every paragraph. So you can immediately see which paragraphs in your document need the most work. We can point you at the sentences that need the most work using our sticky sentences report. And so you can really, in a short space of time, make huge difference to your document by focusing on those areas.
Sticky sentence report is my favorite because it picks me out on my bad habits, which is writing sentences that include 16 different ideas and thoughts and meander around all these different corners. So that's the one that calls me up on my own. I'm pretty good at dialogue tags and some of the other ones, but that's me.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's got their own issues, and you can see here, like weak verbs, for instance. So you can click on any of these and it will then take you to the relevant section of the report. So you can see the report is quite long. It lists all of your grammar mistakes. And it's roughly broken down by our individual reports. So we have writing style, which includes things like emotion tells. This is something specific for creative writing, where you're telling your reader that somebody is, afraid or safe, angry, rather than actually showing them.
You want to talk about the authors there when you with your adverbs? That's a good comparison chart. So you can see that it shows the average for Stephen King there, and you can choose from there's about 50 authors now, maybe not quite.
Yeah, exactly. So as I said in the beginning, what we do is we benchmark your writing against great writing in your genre. So if, for instance, you've chosen historical fiction, what we've done is we've taken a set of books that are historical fiction books, and then we've worked out the average readability of those books. We've looked at the sentence variety, sentence length, all of our goals for those books, and then use those to set your goals. And then we also have comparisons with individual writers as well. So you can see in this chart, this document isn't a great example because it doesn't have any emotion tells in here.
You've done too well showing and not telling.
Yeah, but you can see that I can then compare myself to the average for historical fiction, which was the type of document I chose before, and then to a particular author. So I've chosen Stephen King. So you can see that actually, particular authors, obviously it's historical fiction is not Stephen King's genre. They may vary slightly from the average. And that's the thing. That's why we don't say you need to have exactly this amount. We give you kind of a broader range, which is defined by the higher and lower bounds of what we've found within good examples of that writing. So that leaves you enough space to have your own style while still staying within a reasonable target area.
Yeah, and those numbers change a bit based on genre, based on author. It's really interesting. If you have a manuscript and you upload it and you see how your stats compare to Stephen King, for example, or I think we had a Barack Obama the other day as looking for a memoir, or there's just a ton of really excellent authors in there, and it's really fascinating to see how you measure up.
Still fighting through Barack Obama's memoir.
Which one? We chose him because we need a certain number.
Oh, yeah, he's got
books,
quite a lot.
And he's written so many memoirs
the most recent one.
Yeah. Yeah, so Stephen King talks a lot about adverbs. He's quite known for having that quote saying, what is it about adverbs?
The road to hell is paved with adverbs, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can see in this document exactly the adverbs that you've used or the writer of this document's used, and then compare them to historical fiction and Stephen King. So you can see actually Stephen King is a bit of a fan of Southern.
Yeah, who knew?
Whereas most of the others, he's actually below the average. Slowly, he's a little bit over, but not a huge amount.
And it's, again, here, adverbs, we're not saying nobody should use adverbs ever. It's adverbs are one of those things that they're best used in moderation. You're often, instead of saying he went slowly across the room, you're better to use a more powerful, more nuanced verb like he crawled across the room, or he sloped across the room, or something that where the action is in the verb itself, instead of using a boring verb like went and then adding slowly or quickly to it. You want to use a more powerful verb in itself. And so it's not saying all adverbs need to come out. It's just saying this could be problematic if you use too many. And in published writing, people don't use adverbs very often. And that's, if it's been published, it's at a certain level of quality. So it's a good benchmark for you. And so if it ends up that you're being too reliant on adverbs, and we recommend that you take out 2 or 3 of them, then, I mean, it can't hurt really, can it?
No, exactly. And I think that this is an interesting one with the adverbs as well, because this is one where the advice is broader. And I think if you just say all adverbs are bad, then actually that's wrong. There's lots of adverbs that you have to use. And what we've done is divided adverbs into good adverbs and bad adverbs. And that's why we said bad adverbs report. So for instance, an example of a good adverb, it might be something like where you situate yourself in time, like currently, right? That's an that is not a bad adverb, but a lot of tools will also flag that as well and say, oh, you've overused this. But it's not wrong. So what we've done is we've identified the ones that are actually bad, which, as Lisa said, are the ones that you often find accompanying a weak verb that are improved by strengthening that verb-adverb combination. And again, I always think, when you're writing, don't worry about this. You will find that naturally you start to strengthen things anyway by using ProWritingAid, because it becomes a habit. But writing is all about flow, and often the words that come to you are the most common words that just pop into your head. And often that's a weak verb, because those are the most common verbs as well. Verbs like walk, right, is much more common than sprinted or cannoned or galloped, or rushed or hurried, or all of the other verbs of motion. But you think, okay, I walked across the room. Then you think, oh, but he actually walked quickly. So you write down walked quickly. That's fine, because that's something that when you come back to edit it, you will correct by choosing a better verb. And even if you write hurried, right, you might then improve that in the editing phase to like sprinted or rushed. Or
the idea is that you want to paint the most specific, nuanced picture in your reader's head. And so if you imagine everything you're writing is a film playing in the mind of your reader, saying he went across the room isn't as powerful as he sprinted across the room. It's just adding more specific information. And that's what you want to do with your writing. You want to be able to make sure that the image, the ideas that you're transferring from your head into your reader's head go along the smoothest path possible, so that they have the right picture and they're not having to make guesses or imagine anything.
Yeah, exactly. And then we include various charts as well to really help you visualize your text. So for me, one of the best ones is the sentence length check, because there's a few things to look for here. One of which is lots of long sentences very close to each other. Obviously, that's a bad sign. That means there's a bit of your text that's really kind of hard to get through for your reader. You're creating lots of friction, but also sections where there's lots of sentences around the same length, be those short or long or medium length, because that's where you're losing sentence variety. So that area of your text might come across as a bit monotonous when your reader is reading it.
And it's another one of those things that you could probably go through and count all of the words in your entire chapter in every sentence, and then write them all down and then have a look at it that way. But this is just a different way to view your writing. It gives you a different picture. It gives you a different way to understand it and understand how it's going to be understood by your reader. I'm aware we're already more than halfway through. So anything else that you want to share about the summary report?
No, I think
I've
we
got someone
can. Yeah,
asking how do they choose which authors they're comparing to. Do you want to go into settings for a moment?
yeah. So in your settings here, so this again is where you can set language. So you can choose US or British or Canadian.
Canadian for the Canadians in the house.
We had a lot
That's
of
me.
fun adding Canadian.
Yeah, we added a
The
whole bunch of Canadian vocabulary to our Canadian one, like bunny hug for a hoodie and things like that.
critique.
A toque, yeah, a toque.
Yeah, so you can also set the document type and your border type, and then you have your settings here, and within this, I think I've just got loads of rules in here. But yeah, at the bottom you can set your favorite author. So you can see there's as Lisa said, there's a lot of authors within here.
Marie would like George Orwell. That's quite a good idea, actually.
Sorry?
Marie would like George Orwell, which is a good idea. I'll add it to the list.
Yes, I think we also have planned to make this so it's broken down by particular genres as well, because I think a lot of people wouldn't recognize some of the authors that weren't in their genre. And then we maybe suggest the best author for your genre if you are just starting out and just want to see a general author. Right, back to the document.
So I'm going to do a quick poll. So I'm just launching it now. So what it says is, what's your favorite ProWritingAid report? But what I actually mean is there a report that you'd like us to look at specifically and talk about? Because there's a lot here. And hopefully when you first signed up, you got the full manual that sort of tells you everything about it. I'm going to drop a link just in case you didn't. So you can I'm going to drop this in the chat right now while you're choosing your reports. But this link will take you to everything you need to know about using ProWritingAid. And actually, once we've rolled out these sidebar goals, we'll have to update it, but it gives you a really good starting point. Okay, so polls, sticky sentences. Yay, that's my favorite. Good choice. Dialogue looks like for there. I'm ending it. So top is grammar, sticky sentences, and dialogue. So that'll give us a starting point.
Okay, excellent. Well, the grammar I think is fairly easy because it's very similar to the real time. But you can just run it here.
Yeah, the real time shows most of the suggestions from grammar and style, right?
Yeah, but so the difference between these reports and the real time is that these reports you just run once and then they don't update. And the reason for that is that a lot of them involve kind of more intensive analysis of your text. So for instance, the repeats one has to look at all of your text at once, so it's not feasible to run it every time you make a change to your text. And also some people prefer not to see changes as they're going through, so we have these reports which don't update. So the grammar is effectively very similar to the real-time report. So you can see the same kind of highlights in here and you can accept the changes. So that is fairly simple. Obviously, again, you've got the help text in here that you can read full articles and whatever.
And we're adding more explanations and videos and learning materials in there. Like literally every week we add more. So hopefully almost everything as you go along will be able to help you understand the theory behind it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, next on the list was sticky sentences.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites, as Lisa said. So here what we're trying to do is we're trying to point you at the sentences within your text that will benefit the most from your attention. So what's a sticky sentence? It's a sentence with lots of glue words. Glue words. I'm glad you asked, Lisa. So we basically break sentences down, or words, into two categories, like glue words, which are the words that glue the sentence together, and then meat and potato words, I like to call them, which are the words that actually have the meaning in the sentence. So if you think about it, if you wrote down all the meat and potato words in a sentence, then you can have a guess at what the sentence means. But if you write down the glue words, then you have no idea what this sentence is about. So in this example, you can see we tell you what the glue words are, which are can, how, must, be, to, get in and out of, a, at. Well, I have no idea what this sentence is about if I just read those words. All of the other words are what gives the meaning to the sentence. And these are the words that we have then had to use to stick those words together to turn it into a grammatically correct sentence. And when there's a lot of glue words in a sentence, you can generally improve it by reducing the number of glue words. And again, this often happens when you're writing, because you're just in this flow state, you're just getting ideas down on the page. You're not focused on reducing the words in the sentence. But by pointing you to the worst offenders, so 63.2% of these 19 words are glue words. You can really, so that's 63 words, or 63% of the words in the sentence, right, have no meaning really at all. So you're just forcing your reader to read those words, and it's giving them very little benefit, and all it's doing is getting in the way of the meaning of the sentence. So I often like to run this and then just focus on those and say, okay, actually, often you can say, you can even cut like whole sections. Like I just say it. Right. So I just changed it, cut a few of the words.
It's difficult, or it's a struggle, or something at the beginning there. Chris, you missed it.
Oh yeah, see? Yeah, or a struggle, I like it. Or I struggle. I could do this all night.
No, but that's what I do when something's flagged as sticky. I mean, we're not saying you have to get rid of all the glue words, but if something's flagged as sticky, I just take my little pencil and I write it out, and the same sentence in 3 different ways, and I turn it around and I try it back to front and I try different words, and I always can come up with a better way to write it that's more clear and that doesn't have as much junk in it. And it's not to say that you don't need glue words. You do. Every sentence has glue words. It's all about proportions. And so if you've got too many in there, it's just noise.
Yeah, and I think if you're struggling to rewrite a sticky sentence, then the best thing to do is just to write the meat and potato words and nothing else. And then when you have the bare minimum, try and work out what the bare minimum number of words that you can add to it is. And often you'll find that that then leads you to a much better phrasing of your sentence.
Yeah, so there's quite a few reports here that we can't do the work for you. We can't rewrite your sticky sentences for you. It's just a little flag. It's like a little editor sitting behind you, tapping you on the shoulder saying, just have a look at that sentence again, because it feels awkward and kind of clunky, and see if you can make it a bit smoother. And that's what lots of these reports do. There's lots of people say, why don't you just have an accept all button? But that's not what ProWritingAid is about. ProWritingAid isn't about making it, it's not a shortcut. It's about helping you do the things most efficiently and figuring out how you as the author can get your idea across in the best, most nuanced, most concise way.
Yeah, and I think I really like the sticky sentences report, because I spent a lot of time writing business writing where there was huge constraints around the amount of words that you could have on a page, and things had to fit exactly. So we spent probably twice as long deleting things from our sentences as we actually did writing them. And it's quite an interesting exercise to do. It really focuses you on what words within your sentence are actually necessary. And I think that's why, for me, I really like this glue word report, because it helps me. I wish I'd had it when I was doing that work, because it would have made my life a lot easier.
Okay, so we've got quite a few questions here, but there's quite a few of them about integration. Should we just have a quick look at plugins? And there's a few people that want a bit more explanation about how they work.
Sure. So yes, we have integrations. So Google Docs, I think, is a very popular one. So with Google Docs, we actually have two different types of integrations. So you can see we have highlights here and the standard kind of pop-up. That is just coming from my browser extension here. So if you just type in ProWritingAid and then whatever browser you're using, Chrome, Edge, Safari, Firefox, then you'll find the plugin and you can install it, and it gives you all of your real-time checking. You can see here that Google's telling you that this word is wrong, but actually it's right. So you can see how many more suggestions you're getting than just the standard Google Docs grammar checker, but also better suggestions. And we also then have an add-on explicitly where you can go in and run your summary report, but you can also run the full editor in here. So you see your text comes in, you've got all of your reports here. So if you want to go into more depth, then you can get ProWritingAid's plugin or add-on, as they call them in Google Docs. So you just click on this add-ons menu, choose Get Add-ons, type in ProWritingAid, and you'll see it here, 250,000 users.
4.7 stars.
Yeah.
So Linda's saying, she says, are you saying that I can add the add-in in PWA to Safari on my iPhone? And so no, the answer to that is no, we don't have an iOS app. We do it, everything is sort of based within browsers.
Yeah, well, Safari on your iPhone doesn't support add-ins either, so talk to Apple about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, very few. I think Firefox used to support browser extensions on your phone, but they don't anymore, I don't think. So yes, what else? What other?
So Michael wants to know about Scrivener.
Yes.
He says, should I be copying work from Scrivener and pasting it into PWA and then copying it back? No, don't do that.
Most definitely not. So this is our desktop app. So this runs on Mac and Windows, and we created this specifically for Scrivener and for people who want to use an independent app. And the idea is that we can't plug directly into Scrivener because Scrivener doesn't have that capability. But what we can do is we can open up your Scrivener projects, and then we can display them to you, and then we can give you a very similar experience to the web editor. So for those of you who don't know Scrivener and what it is, it's a really great app for writing longer documents. And the reason why it's great is because it allows you to create this kind of tree structure of your document. You can put everything in here. You can give things statuses, so you can say this is like finished, this has been copy edited, this is needs editing. You can put all of your research in there as well, and then at the end you can just compile it and turn it into an EPUB or a Word document or a PDF, and it just saves you a huge amount of time. So what we do is we load up the project and we show you exactly this tree structure, and then we show you, you can see you've got the real-time checking in here as well. You've got all of the reports. So similarly to what we were saying earlier, you won't see your formatting in here, but we just save it back to your original document. So all of your formatting is preserved So this will just save you a huge amount of time without, not having to copy and paste in the first place, but then not losing any of your formatting, having to redo it. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to open up Word quickly?
Yeah.
Just because the functionality of Word is slightly different just due to limitations within Word. Almost all the reports are there, but they look just a tiny bit different.
Yes, so in Word, we have this ProWritingAid menu here. So again, you just open a document.
So these integrations are premium features. Premium features. So if you're a free user, then you have to stick to the web editor. But if you're a premium user, then you can use all of the ProWritingAid tools within the platforms that you already use. I hope that answers your question, Julie.
Yep, so again, you can see you get ProWritingAid in Microsoft Word. I've got some kind of weird zoom going on here. So it looks huge. You get all of your highlights.
Toolbar at the top.
Oh yeah. So you can see you got the ProWritingAid toolbar along here with all of your reports. You've got your goals sidebar, grammar and style sidebar. You've got all of your highlights in here as well that you can just select. You can see nice. There you go. So it's very, very similar to Web Editor, but all integrated into Microsoft Word, so that you don't even have to copy and paste it across.
Okay, I'm going to rapid fire some questions at you. You ready? Because we're running out of time. What is quotes consistency and how do you use that?
Quotes consistency is looking at the difference between what's called curly quotes or smart quotes, which is what Word uses, which is let's see. So these kind of, I'm just trying to find a good image. Oh yeah, so these are curly quotes. You can see they've got a curl to them. And these are straight quotes, and often you'll find, because Microsoft Word changes quotes sometimes, you'll find that you're using a mixture of straight quotes and curly quotes. So the consistency is just that you're using all of the same, and you can actually, within our editor, choose to convert all of your straight quotes to curly quotes or curly quotes to straight quotes, just to
because the thing that we find important is you can use curly, you can use straight, but don't mix them up. And that's the same with a lot of our consistency checks. You can use British spelling or you can use American spelling. Just don't mix them up. You can do whatever you want, but as long as you're consistent from one to the other. And so that just allows you to change all of your curly quotes to straight if you happen to have a mix. That one is a quick one-click cheat, isn't it?
Yeah, one click fix.
One click fix. Okay, Helen wants to know what's the maximum length of document that should be analyzed?
Well, that's a good question. Well, the limits are generally determined by your computer and the memory and the browser. But so we do have people who think, okay, I'll put in my 300,000 word epic fantasy novel, and then try and run it. And it takes a while, obviously, because it's 300,000 words. But then you find that actually, you're not going to go through and edit 300,000 words in one sitting. So actually, it's pretty pointless to have done that. I always say try and edit like a chapter or two at a time, and that gives you a fast iteration speed where you can go through all of the reports on one chapter in one sitting, and then finish that, and then move on to the next one. So, yeah, I would say that it's a better question of not how much can you, it's how much should you. And for me,
just do what you're planning to edit that session and then start again. And sometimes at the end you want to do a bigger chunks to get an overview of you know, repeats and that sort of thing across your whole book, and that's fine. But to run it every time you're going to do an editing session, you don't need to run it on all 300,000 pages of your.
Yeah, and I think that's a good question about Scrivener. So in Scrivener, you can click, so you've got this tree structure. So I can either run on an individual section like this, or if I click on the sort of parent one, then I get all of the sections shown together. So then I can run the report and it runs on all of the sections together. So this is why I really like Scrivener, because it gives you that flexibility. If I just click on draft, then it shows me the whole document and I can run on the whole document in one go. But if I then choose like one chapter, then it only runs on this smaller piece of text. So that really gives you a huge amount of flexibility if you're using Scrivener.
Okay, does the disable rule apply throughout the document, and I will extend that by saying and forevermore?
Yes.
Yes. If you disable the rule, you're sort of stuck with it. You can get in touch with us to turn it back on. But yeah, disabling rule. If you just want to ignore it the once, then hit ignore. Disable rule it's a permanent fix. Let's see. So there's a couple of people who are saying that their screen doesn't look like yours, and if you arrived a bit late, just so you know, the goals in the sidebar of some of these haven't been rolled out to everyone yet, but will be in the next couple of weeks. So if yours looks a little bit different, it won't soon. That'll be rolled out to you shortly. Can you quickly discuss the plagiarism checker? What is it checking against, and when should it be used?
So the plagiarism checker is something that we sell as part of our Premium Plus, or you can just buy a bundle of plagiarism checks. Obviously, I think plagiarism is something that a lot of people don't care about at all because they're confident that they haven't plagiarized it. But if you're writing, for instance, an academic writing, and sometimes you might have accidentally copied a sentence across and not referenced it properly, then it's great for picking that up. So it uses a huge database of text to check your text to see if it is substantially similar, and then we'll highlight it and tell you where it's come from.
Great. We've got 3 minutes left. Do you want to have a quick look at the different resources that we have?
Yeah.
If you go to our homepage, well, first of all, you'll see that we have a sale on at the moment.
Yeah.
But there's also there's a tab at the top called the Learn tab. And for those of you that wanted to download the manual and the link wasn't working, if you click under ebooks there, that's where you'll find links to download. Some of them are just free for everybody to download, and some of them are for premium subscribers. We've got lots of books in there, regardless of whether you're a fiction writer or a copywriter, or if you write at work, or if you're a teacher and you use it in the classroom, because more and more schools are getting licenses for all the students across their classes or across the universities. So there's lots of resources there. We also, under the Learn tab, have an ongoing series of events for writers. We just last week announced that we're having a summit from the 19th to the 23rd, all about crime writing. So that's coming up, and
Oh, that's me.
And there you are. We have a regular Ask a Book Doctor section. A book doctor is someone who you can hire to come in and look at your book and help you find the problems and how to strengthen your beginning and how to strengthen your ending and add more tension and all of that. She works with all kinds of best-selling writers, and she's kind of amazing if you are writing fiction in terms of what she teaches every one of those sessions. We've got self-editing school once a month with Joella Nordstrom, who runs First Editing, and she is amazing at really practical tips to help you self-edit your own work, and that's looking beyond the copy editing level that we work with ProWritingAid, but looking at substantive editing, developmental editing, that sort of big picture. And then we've got AJ Ogilvy, who does a bunch of sessions for people who are using ProWritingAid at work and to apply for jobs and to boost their careers and for their whole teams. And and he's great. So if that's the kind of writer you are, if that's how you're using good writing in your life, then he is great as well. So there's just a ton of free webinars that we run all the time that everyone's welcome to come along and just build their skills.
And if you are looking for a job, then we are recruiting for a number of roles currently. So have a look on our career section of our website.
That's true. Just go down to the footer and you'll find it there. And then
read our article on writing a good cover letter before you apply.
I mean, we put a link right next to it just to be helpful. We also have the blog, which is under the Learn tab as well, which has like over 1,000 articles now. That's just all about how to build your skills. And again, like I said, ProWritingAid is for one part of the writing journey, and this blog and the webinars are where we try and help you on all the other stages of the writing journey. Because our goal as a company is to help you get your ideas out into the world in the best, clearest, most powerful way possible. And we want to help you on all stages of that journey. And with that, I think we're out of time. Thank you everyone for coming. I don't know how this hour always goes so quickly. I know there's quite a few questions we didn't get to. We have an amazing support team that are standing by. So if you need help, I know there's a couple of people that were having, Linda says she's technologically challenged. We'll help you out. Send a message to Amy or Libby or Kyle and they will get you sorted out. They're great that way. And if anybody else needs or wants anything, we're always happy to help there. And that's it. Chris, anything else you want to say to finish up?
No, it's been good fun.
Cool. I always say that don't be afraid of editing. Editing is where so much of the magic happens. You know, writing is when you get all your ideas out, and editing is when you really make it fly. And if you talk to any best-selling author, you know, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, they'll tell you that, you know, what you see on the shelves of the bookstore is probably only 20% of their original first draft made to it, because they spent the time doing the rewriting and making it better. So embrace the editing, learn to love the edit.
Yeah, I'm just about to read F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Last Tycoon, which is, I think he was unfinished at his death. So I'm interested to see how that compares to the books that he fully edited.
Oh, and nobody's ever edited it? It's
No.
just interesting.
Well, I am assuming there may be some like grammar and spelling, but
yeah. We are nerds. So if you are also a book nerd and a writing nerd, you are in the right place. All right, and with that, we're going to sign off. Thank you, everybody. Our sale is on the website for another 24 hours, I think, and then it's going to be gone for a while. So grab it while you can, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Take care. Bye.